Zach Nebulous presents Quantum Stereo Chronicles Audiobook 4, title The Hex Hex Guide to the Galaxy. Chapter 4. The chapter containing the laws of attraction says that like begets like, and some things are meant to be together. Bread tastes better with butter, and one should never wander off without proper shoes, and so on. Space, they say, should be traversed with space ships. That was what the book had to say about space. The Hex Hex Guide to the Galaxy was a free-to-download book. The most basic of it was beamed out into space by dots and dash code. It contained all the known places that one may visit in the galaxy. In the more relaxed parts of the galaxy, the book was commonly found in small one-night motel rooms or used as doorstoppers. There are the names of the 12 planets and its denizens, spaceports known to be friendly with tradespeople, types of commodities, and most importantly, how to get from one place to another without all that tedious mucking about in outer space. Many star systems had their own forms of transportation. For instance, the Lobonians, a blue-skinned race of salamander people, invented solar sails they used to travel to their nearest star system, which was only 2 light years from their own home world early on. The Gortoks, a race of ant-like creatures, used hyperstones for space travel. This was by far the best way to go, as the engines only required vacuum-sealed chambers to operate. The only problem with that knowledge was that it was known only to the Gortoks, and, like all insect aliens, are hostile and carnivorous, and are to be avoided at all possible. The volume also contained references to various aliens and what they had to offer in trade. It is found that alcohol to be one of the most sought-after commodities, next to basic bread, but not before endonium. Endonium was the name they gave to the element Kl that the Malvolans said was needed in order to achieve subspace travel, which was a more convenient way from going from one point to another, much faster. The composition of the Kl could not be found anywhere on the world of Zendar. It was only to be found on one of the moons. A mad scientist in the 70s by the name of Graham Hedrick had uncovered the mysterious element and pursued it a way to use it, and of course the rest is history, you know. But now the times had changed, and along with that were new methods of handling endonium. The way to handle it was described in the book. The element, when found naturally, was most always encased in rock, because so, if it touches a vacuum of space, its natural rhythmic harmonic tune would react with it and create a fissure in the fabric of space and time, and slip into subspace, never to be seen again, as its exit point is always random and unknown. It is theorized that the probability surfaced somewhere in the universe, but the chances of finding them are so tiny and remote that it would be deemed far too easier to count the stars than to find a stray lump of Kl floating somewhere at the edge of space and time. The element is to be encased within an EM field, to be better controlled by computers that calculate how much energy to output in order to create an anti-universal bubble that slips through normal space and into hyperspace. It was also a good idea to have personnel on board skilled in armed hand-to-hand combat in case of any pirate attacks. Spaceships, by far, are the easiest thing one can make. Most of the early risers have made starships out of common naval ships with the information provided in the Hex Hex Trade Guide. Anti-gravity engines and EM static shields to protect against cosmic rays is sufficient enough equipment to traverse the stars, and only one needs to use the arm of God as a reference point in the stars to venture out, so to speak, to find life in the universe and everything, of course. We are on the cusp of a new era in science discovery. That was written in bold on the front page of the grey newspaper Deena was reading along with her morning coffee at her personal flat in the city. She had a lot of her plate these days, and these were not helping settle her down either. She turned on the telly, and there was nothing but the news of the signal from the stars. Today's news, day 42 after spring 1992. This new discovery of a space signal from another world that was spilling out secrets of the universe to every nook and cranny of the small world is very astonishing, to say the least. Almost overnight there was chaos in most parts of the world, trying to make their own radio telescopes to pick up the signals for themselves. In an unprecedented move, the largest global banks, Saxon Goldstein Incorporated, that operate 42% of the global economy, including Zendar, the 12, and Zendar, has released a statement to all its debtors and investors in a press conference detailing the outline of the shift in focus from commerce to venturism. The chairman of the board stated there will be a liquidation of all debts and assets owed effective by the end of the week, and any payments yet to be made, therefore, are to be suspended indefinitely. Any housing market car loans will be erased. Insurance and land titles will be readjusted ahead of the last fiscal year. We will shift our focus to outer space endeavors in hopes others will follow. Thank you for your time, as stated by the CEO. Chaos on the markets today after the announcement from the banks were made. Investors pulling up in record numbers prompted the markets to shut down early. Panic ensued in the retail and grocery markets as stocks tumbled all across the board before the plug was pulled. All across the nations, gas prices went from $1.29 a pint down to 39 cents, as news of a new type of free energy is being developed by means from a signal from outer space. The Queen of Zendar has announced the construction of the world's first spaceport city that will see the first interstellar spacecraft that will venture out into the stars, to thank our new friends out there for helping us get this free technology. A magnitude 6 earthquake struck in the southern Isles of Elk this morning. Click. She turned off the telly. The noise and disorder dissipated, and the world cooled down. The looters were never brought to justice, but now was the question of what to do. For a little while, the people who were still making money were doing so, but also there are new entrepreneurs who are offering free energy, like free oven energy cooks, and things that hover for the price of the plastic that they were made. And then the oil companies dried out and were forced to move their powers to other means. For this, Deena was happy knowing that her debts were reduced and eventually settled for pennies borrowed on the dollar. The money system slowly receded to the back alleys and to the collectors who were interested in antiquity. To the busy streets of Zendar City, where she lived for a time being. She went to see her mother. Cobblestone lined up all around, and the people flowed to the stores to buy fresh goods here and there. Fish in barrels, cheese blocks by the columns, fowl both live and not. Fresh cut, a butcher announces his craft. Amongst the scene, a radio news program is audible, it said. And again, Zendar officials report, an alien signal has been found, and the information is in possession of the monarchy. That's all the reports when it went on. A paperboy shouted, "Extra, extra, read all about it! Queen of Zendar to build a space program! Aliens have made contact! Extra, extra!" Here and there, a passerby would pick up the Great Prince and toss a coin to the hat on the ground below that belonged to the paperboy. "Many blessings from the moons with you," the young lad bowed to the big-boned, red-haired woman as she bought a copy directly from him. "Here's a $5. Go get something for yourself to eat," Charity set in. "Not me," the youthful lad said, referring to the woman's attire. She wore a long navy blue sea coat. "Thank you ever so much." "Deena dear, do come on," an older woman said aloud, so she could carry through the noise that was thick in the air. "Yes, mother," Deena spoke. She placed the newspaper under her armpits and went along her way to where she was going, which was home for the time being after meeting her mother. "I do love the short visits you give us, but can you not be such a parrot? You know those long nights I worry about you, wondering what sort of trouble you might be into. God bless me and your husband, your father. He raised you strong. Can you not do something more wholesome and decent toward us?" Deena's mother worried. "You helped too, Mother. If it weren't for your compassion, I wouldn't have never gotten to see the other sides of people, if you get my meaning." "Mighty soul, what sort of times are we living in now? Flying saucers." "Excuse me." "Oh no, not that, Mother. Not flying saucers, honestly. You listen to too much gossip. It's just a signal, you know. Sort of like aliens saying, 'Hello,' you get me saying?" "Daughter, I knew what I'd hear." "Yes, Mother." Deena retreated as she stepped up into an auto coach. The coaches, red and large, had a distinct double deck that made it famous throughout Zendar. Inside the coach, the two found a seat up on the top side to get a better view of the sights of the city. Deena then noticed a crew on the side of the road busy putting up a new billboard advert. In large red lettering, their ad read, "Wanted. Workers needed for new space program in Zendar country." Deena looked at her mother, who also happened to see the sign once it passed, and looked back at her daughter. "If I cannot have a granddaughter, surely I can have an employed daughter instead." "Mother," Deena said, "we've been over this before. The doctors were adamant that I cannot have any kids of my own. To this, her mother pretended to cry in a motherly dramatic fashion that set Deena's eyes rolling to one side. Please, mother, not now. In an apartment in a dense part of the city, Deena tucked in her mother and kissed her on the forehead. Good night, she softly spoke and headed out the door. Once she locked it, Deena walked over to an oil blue sedan, waiting in the streets close by. The door opened at the passenger side and Deena climbed in. Are you ready to go? Chimed the husky man. The pretty boy is all filled up and ready for your next adventure. Thank you, Mr. Gomer. The blue auto drove off into a dark night. Only one moon was up this night, and it was a rather odd sight to see, as one is always accustomed to there being two. They arrived at the docks, and as the two got out, Deena stopped short of the rampart. Mr. Gomer, you've been my best friend here for the last year. 3 deeds done. I believe you are owed this much. She produced the gilded paper deeds. The vessel is yours. There's something I have to do now. Gomer thought and looked at it. We have been through lots together in the high seas. Adventures, treasure, pirates. You loved it. Why are you doing this now? Does this not have anything to do with those blasted devils on the horn calling from the skies? Nothing as such. Seems like they're looking for the workers over in Zendar City. I want to go see did I get a job out there. Besides, that house we filled up with all that booty might as well be doorstops. You get me drift. You are hereby captain of the Pretty Buoyant. May the winds forever be at your beck. Ah, lass. It's going to enjoy your spoils of your adventure, eh? I fancy that new luxury boat you purchased. I wish I could turn my ship just like that, eh? Oi! I have an idea. I'll use that booty to buy some stuff that is new for the Pretty Buoyant, eh? Pretty. Alright. Gomer saluted, and then hugged Deena in the most heartfelt fashion. She was saying goodbye to an old friend she barely knew, but only a year ago. Now it seems that the new world is set in motion. In the city of Zendar, Deena Colombe arrived at the bus terminal in the heart of the city. The view of the palace was overhead amidst the tall steel man-made towers the city had become over the many years. She enlisted her name to help with the new space program, as she had a background in astronomy from her days at the university. And the head of the space program was only happy to let her on board. She arrived at an introductory seminar the next following days, and there was a lot of other people there as well. There was a high-named clever scientists, inquisitive astronomers, smart physicists, and practical engineers. She studied them all and immediately found out a group of what appeared to be Navy engineers. She could tell by attire. One woman with purple hair asked, "Are you a Navy person?" Deena, in her navy blue long coat, replied, "Could you tell?" She smiled. "So, space creatures giving us tips now. Still cannot believe it." "I believe it to be true. I heard the signal myself From yon telescope in Northern Mountains, the stranger said. Me name is Vera Octon, at your service. See, you happen to know where the signal is coming from. I've read the newspaper, but I'm sorry I missed the part. It's in the big Arcs constellation, 40,000 light years away. I know what that is. Seems sort of interesting. Smiled, waving to the bar. Do get us something to drink with me, please. The brainstorming continued, and the ideas were pitched in and discarded. Some were good ideas, and others required more time to construct. We need to test out theories first, one scientist pointed out to the dangers of leaving downward pull of gravity. Rockets can do the job of pulling together things up we can build in orbit. Anti-gravity, while long thought to be the stuff of science fiction now, seems to be broken in. Test it with real magnets and electricity. Now, we need to test to see if they will indeed lift up anything massive, like say a 70,000-ton spaceship from the ground up into orbit. We have tested. The device is outlined in the downloads from the alien signal on small models in the Royal Laboratories. It will work, the head of the Space Department then said. His name was Mr. Nebulous, co-discoverer of the alien signal. Deena pictured a different person altogether. She thought he was a skinny, pock-marked, pencil-pushing egghead. But no, he struck her more as a man of conviction, and there was a sense of determination, with a sort of blind faith in the man's eyes. Nobody stood up. Deena swallowed hard. I will take the challenge. She stood up in front of the crowd, who suddenly hushed to meet her eyes. She looked around and said, "You say this technology will work? As you could see, levitate a boat, you know? Could it not also levitate the luxury craft?" When you say luxury craft, I was not expecting this. Mr. Nebulous pointed to feisty Deena's photograph of her ship that she showed to the CO. It's a U-boat. Aye, but I bought it a few months ago. Really solid and reliable. I figures after spending my life exploring the seas, why not at the bottoms of the oceans? You get me saying. Deena, the mariner, said in a poker-faced manner, and stared into Zack's brown eyes. There was a pause, as she saw him stroke his soft-grown beard, brownish in color as well. Zack then told, a U-boat actually sounds really good. What an idea. Because you know, those things are pressurized for deep oceans. Outer space should be no problem. But, are you sure your vessel is seaworthy? You know, the subs used during the Great Wars, you know. Deena spoke of her acquisition with pride. My boat, the Regal, has been modified and updated to go deeper, and the weapons have been completely gutted. We can use that empty space and put all that contraption in there. She pointed to the anti-gravity schematic that was projected by monitor to a white sheet across the large convention room. Zack, the thoughtful, stood there again in silence for a moment, contemplating. Alright, let's give it a go. The crowd of eagerness desponded, and the details and outlines were going to be worked out with much anticipation. The next following weeks were spent taking the sub and retrofitting it with anti-gravity machines that they had developed with common elements found in the atomic table elements. They installed air tanks to breathe with, and they had test pilots to wear spacesuits they took in from the museums. Deena put on one of the spacesuits. It smelt of mothballs and old cardboard. She said, "Oh, that's a pretty smell. Couldn't you have knocked the dust off it first?" "That is good. All the suit systems will operate even after all these years." A scientist smiled in confidence as he inspected his suit one last time here and there all over Deena's ample body. He also inspected his own, for he was also going on the first test flight. They had succeeded in lifting the U-boat off the ground, and were now familiar with the input-output mode of the anti-gravity motion, enough to test it out into higher output mode, which would take them straight up into the sky and into orbiting space. 4 test astronauts were aboard. 2 scientists, Captain Deena, as well as an old astronaut there for publicity. Inside the U-boat, Deena ordered for the activation of the zero-G machine, and the boat slowly started to lift from the concrete on-ramp. The big grey metal man-made sea serpent rose slowly up into the clear blue skies above the hangar bay. It soared past the lazy clouds. Birds looked at it in bewildering sight, as if contemplating whether or not this is a new enemy in the airs. The long shape slowly ascended into the space above. The skies turned dark, and one could now see the world below as a large blue and green round shape. Into the depths of the dark, one could see the stars and the sun in its blinding glory. Deena ordered for them to put on their anti-ray visors. Cosmic rays are dangerous over time, the book says. "All systems report normal." One scientist checked a pressure gauge here and there on the metal hulls. The astronaut teared as he looked out the porthole window. "Oh, that takes me back here now. I thought in all my life I'd never see this day again. Maybe after all it is settled down, you can retire somewhere up there instead of here." Deena relayed with comfort, then asked, "What is your current output there?" The astronaut looked at the instruments. "We are getting in at least 30% output flow." He tapped the gauge. That alone took us past the airs like it was nothing." Deena then relayed on the computer board. "Put us up at 50%. Captain, are you sure about these coordinates? It's the moon Luna." And then Deena said. In for a pence, in for a pound. Let's go. One scientist lamented about the failed moon expedition. If only Heydrich was here to witness what we're doing now. The U-boat started to push itself through no apparent means other than the sun's magnetic attraction to the magnetized gravity machine towards the lunar direction. The guidance systems are working. Those programmers are good. I hope he had time to test out all the bugs. The old astronaut, named after a shepherd, said. That's why we're here, to see what happens. That's what we happy spacers do know. All around the boat, they could hear a little creak and knocking sounds, but the pressure was steady. One of them said, I'm gonna go check the gauges and record them. Deena peered through the periscope, and over their reticles, right on aim, was the moon Luna. It was only 5,000 leagues out, but they were on nautical terms. So fast. They zipped around the lunar orbit and made their way back for Zendar as fast, just as fast. The plan had worked, and they were now spacefaring peoples. End of chapter.